Hey everyone, welcome back to iStart Insider, where we dive into the journeys of young innovators, creators, and changemakers. I'm Trisha.
And I'm Shruthi, and we will be your podcast host for today. In this episode, we're excited to welcome Eddie the Lou. He is, among many things, a magician, an original content creator, was the Phillips Academy volleyball co captain, and he is a person who is brave enough to give an authentic glimpse into the life of college students beginning to discover themselves, find their purpose, and forge their way. We're so excited to welcome an incredible, authentic, and multifaceted personality. Welcome, Eddie.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. To start, could you please tell the Insider community a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a sophomore at Harvard right now studying psychology. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to high school in Andover. And right now, I think I'm trying to get into the startup game while still making content.
How do you adapt your approach to content creation as you gain more experience? Because you have quite the multifaceted background. So, how has that shaped your perspective?
To be honest, even now, I'm kind of still figuring things out. When I first started out, I did 105 days of posting a video every day. I think that's where you learn the most when you're learning by doing. Now that I'm in school, I'm only posting like 3 times a week. One is coming out today, by the way. But I'd say the main thing that has changed over time is figuring out like my own voice. I think once you get more custom and more natural with what it's like to talk to a camera and put yourself out there, you're able to really find out like what exactly you want to speak on. At the start, when I was kind of just posting stuff, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But over time, I realized, I am pretty interested and passionate about, helping other students find fulfillment in their lives through their work, through balancing everything that they're doing, chasing their goals. And I think that's kind of the direction that I'm taking it now.
That is really incredible. And 105 days of posting sounds like an experience to say the least. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that was like? What are some struggles you faced? How did you feel?
Yeah. So I started, I think, literally the last day of freshman year. So when everybody was kind of finishing up with things, I realized I wasn't like happy. I wasn't sad. I was kind of just like bored with my life. The summer, I would be working a 9 to 5 job on campus as the sales manager for the tutoring company based in Harvard. Part of me just didn't think that that would be enough for me. Outside of the 9 to 5, I was like, what else am I going to do? And I ultimately knew I wanted to go into a business or online, business somehow, startups. But I thought that, I just didn't have enough time or experience to really delve into that world while still working a job. And so I've been really interested in content creation for a while. And then I kind of decided, okay, why don't I try to train this skill instead? So essentially every day after my 9 to 5, I'd literally go to the gym, I'd make a video, then I'd eat dinner, and then I'd plan for the next day's video. So it was pretty boring, pretty grindy at first. And the videos took a long time, like 3 or 4 hours every day to start with. And then eventually I kind of found my groove, could narrow it down to about an hour per video, but overall it was kind of a grind of a process.
Yeah, you definitely put a lot of effort into everything and all like hours of effort for a short video that we see. And you also mentioned that this was at the end of your freshman year and you're majoring in economics and psychology. So how does this tie in to your career as like a content creator and as a magician?
So magic was really just like a hobby. Obviously, I don't think I'd want to be a professional magician. It's kind of just part of my experiences. But my end goal was always to do something entrepreneurial, so launch my own business. And I think growing up in this day and age, you kind of see just how impactful social media is with how integrated it is with online business. And so my kind of dream outcome would be to grow a business or build a startup and then document that through content. And so at the time, I didn't really have that business idea or a startup. So I thought might as well just gain that skill in creating content. And so leveraging like my background in psychology and just magic and everything, trying to figure out how do I connect with people I think that was very helpful in how that connected between, what I was academically interested in and what I ultimately wanted to do.
That's really inspiring. I feel like content creation is definitely a lot of hard work, and it's very inspiring to see how dedicated you are to it.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of where you took the initiative to act on something that you cared about?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm just very proud of myself for starting. Obviously, you can always start sooner. I know people that have start even sooner than I had, in high school even, and I have even more respect for them because it's even harder to put yourself out there. That's why I waited until the summer because I knew if I started doing this during the school year when all of my friends were still here, I would not have been able to pull it off. But I'm glad I at least made that decision to at least try because it's honestly opened up so many opportunities. The life I have today is so much more different than what it was a year ago. How old are you guys?
We're 16,
What year are you guys in high school?
junior.
Both of you are juniors. Okay. Well, I mean, freshman year of college is like a completely brand new start for everything. You're really trying to figure everything out. And I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I never really made progress, took any action in like getting myself towards there. As this was like finally the first step I took, and now like I'm living everything that I wanted to do. I make content. I love making content. I'm working on a startup that I really care about. The classes I'm taking are now all aligned with what I want to do. And so honestly, like I'm very excited for this year. I think it's going to be a really good year.
It's amazing to see how your journey has changed and how you're helping other people accomplish the same thing. But I'm sure it can't have been easy the whole time. So, what was your most difficult moment and how did you overcome it?
Hmm. So I think around day 6 or day 17, either of those two was when I kind of just wanted to quit and stop posting every day. Because eventually you run out of ideas and you kind of get burnt out. And I think burnout is I don't think people understand what burnout is. I think burnout is when your results that you expect don't align with the amount of work that you put in. So, for example, if I spent 5 hours on a video and the video did really well, right? Like I'd be tired, but I wouldn't be burnt out. I'd be very happy because I got the results that I wanted. But when you spend like 5 hours on a video that gets like 5,000 views, then it's like, all right, what am I doing? And so there was like a little bit of a streak where like nothing was hitting, and I was like, what do I need to do better? And it felt like I didn't have the time to like keep things going. Oh, actually, now that's coming to me. So I went to California because for work for a tutoring company, they had to send a few of us over to teach a program. And so this was at Berkeley. And I remember when I was there, I was actually gonna meet up with some like way more experienced content creators. But before that, I was like in this weird streak of like nothing was, hitting. Nothing was going well. And also it just felt like I was getting way too busy to be able to make that improvement, right? I was still trying to like stay healthy, go to the gym, eat well, sleep well, maintain my relationships, and then all of that plus a 9 to 5, plus spending like a few hours on a video every day. Like it just couldn't work for some reason. Something had to give. And so I think I was pretty torn at that point where I was like, a lot of things are suffering, a lot of things are worse off just because I started doing this. So I don't know if it's worth continuing. But thankfully, after I met up with a bunch of them, this was at the Cluely office. I think that was like the kick that I needed. It was very, very motivating and inspiring to see all these people doing things that, they went through what I went through. I think their words of encouragement made me realize that like it is definitely possible. I kind of just need to like keep trying and figure things out. And eventually you'll learn how to make your process more efficient. And so when I came back, I realized I wanted to take this really seriously. I wanted to put more effort in. That did come at the cost of other things in life because life is time is limited, but I think that was probably the hardest point.
That's
That
really
is
interesting to see. What is like one piece of advice you would give to a younger version of yourself or like just any growing content creator and entrepreneur?
So the nature of content creation and the nature of like business as well, I think it really is about the person that's doing it, and you have to have a reason why people care about you, want to listen to you, want to buy from you. And the easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is to develop some sort of credibility, right? So in my videos, it's pretty easy to just spam like the Harvard name because like that attracts every high schooler in the country. But I think when I see a lot of like people starting out, not even just students, but anybody starting out, and they don't have a clear understanding of why people should listen to them, I think then they're kind of just wasting their time. Because again, you have to think very, very like empathetically, right? Like you have to take yourself out of your own biases and think, why would anybody care about what I have to say, what I put out in this world? And when you realize that, then you realize you have to do things that other people want to do. You have to do cool stuff that, people will respect. And so I'm very grateful for high school version of me who like, did a lot of cool things. Like magic was very interesting. Like trying to do volleyball was very interesting. I think there was just a lot of random side quests that really help bring dimension to your character that make people like you. And I think that is probably something that you really want to optimize for, like maximize the different types of cool experiences and skills that you can gain. So that way people have a reason to listen.
That's incredible. What were some of the things that you learned from your side quests, and how would you advise people hoping to go on their own side quests in pursuit of a bigger goal?
Yeah. Magic was pretty huge. I've been doing that since I was in fifth grade. I performed a lot at school. I started my own like nonprofit like organization related to that. And that really helped me like experience what it's like to interact with people, how to remember and focus on things from their perspective. I think also I was really interested in mental health, so I worked as like a teen therapist. And again, that was also very transformative in understanding, how people think, how to like talk and communicate with them. And then like volleyball was also another like great experience where like it taught me a lot about adaptability and how to like shape and control what I can't control and forget about what I can't control. And then there was another experience that I didn't actually talk about on my account yet, but I basically the summer after junior year when I was applying, I realized I needed to do something really cool. So I decided to fly to California, like live in the woods for like a few days at a silent meditation retreat. So I wasn't able to talk to people. There was no technology. It was just me and like a notebook. And I was able to really reflect on my life. And so all of these things were like some of them were intentional where I was like, I need to do something cool. I'm going to like do this. And like no other sane person would be willing to do this. That's what's going to set me apart. And some of them were just out of pure interest, like magic, volleyball, like those were all things I was already into. And so I think for anybody like listening, it's understanding both, like figuring out what you already enjoy, and then how do you take that to another level that someone else hasn't done before, especially for the college application where it's all about like standing out. I think I really like strategized this pretty well, given that I didn't have any super incredible awards or accomplishments, but I did know that like I need to figure out how to stand out somehow. And so that's when I really focused on, okay, what can I do that other people can? And what can I learn that other people aren't really learning? And so I think it's just that mindset that will kind of propel you to push yourself to do these things.
What are some of the biggest things that you learned that you think people still don't realize, like especially young people?
I think the biggest unlock for me happened in junior year. I remember there's a very big step up in terms of the difficulty of classes. I don't know if it was the same for you guys, but classes just felt way harder. I felt like I was like being pushed to my limit, like at a level I haven't really experienced before. And so at that moment, I was very much like confused and lost. And I was like, I don't want to do this. But it was actually from one Instagram reel that like actually changed my entire perspective. It was from this bodybuilder. His name's Noel. This was like a video that had a few million views, but essentially the analogy in the video was that I think coals, like diamonds, are formed under pressure, that like olives are pressed to produce oil, and that like grapes are squeezed to make wine. And the main idea of that was when you are in a situation of a lot of pressure, a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenge, that is the catalyst. That is when you actually transform into something that is even better. And I think that completely reframed my perspective on facing challenges and doing things that I didn't like. Because rather than just seeing it as the obstacle itself, I realized that the obstacle is kind of this path towards the improvement that I want. Want to improve. I think I was always that type of person that always wanted to get better. And so once I saw everything in its light, that every single difficulty that you face, everything that you want comes at that price of that challenge, I think then it really makes it completely different where it's like, okay, now I can kind of almost look forward to doing this. It's the same for like any type of personality trait that you want as well, right? Like I think a big thing for me was I struggled with patience. Like I'm a pretty impatient guy. And I realized that you can't just be patient. In order to get this quality of patience, you have to endure situations that test your patience. So everything that you want comes at that cost, and you kind of just have to endure that cost. But once you realize that, you kind of just take the cost as it is instead of trying to run away from it.
That's a really inspiring analogy. I feel like it's interesting to see like things from different perspectives. What is like your vision for what you hope to accomplish through your career as a content creator? And like, what do you want to be remembered by?
Yeah. So the startup I'm working on right now is called Tide. It's a social network platform aimed at connecting people with people they're most compatible with, especially for like ambitious people who, want to build and do really cool things. A lot of the times it's hard to find people that share that vision, who kind of understand where you're coming from. Relationships themselves are kind of superficial, pretty transactional. I really value that depth. And so I really wanted to find other people that, understood what I wanted. I could help them, support them, create a really strong connection. And so that's what we're working on. It's to help people find other friends, other teammates, co-founders, dates, even. And so this is something I'm really, really passionate about. We're trying to launch it at Harvard, kind of like the next Facebook. And hopefully it'll branch out to more college campuses. Eventually it'll reach every single student, every person. That way you can find exactly who fits best with you. It's based in psychology and sociology research. So that's how we kind of understand who you are, and we can figure out who you'll get along with best. So the vision is to use my platform to really like help people or help spread this message, help find other people that resonate with this movement of trying to reestablish stronger, more deeper connections. And obviously make Tide as big as possible, so that way everybody has access to the people that they need most. And I think that that's my ultimate goal, because I realize that like at the end of the day, relationships are what is most important. Like all the success that you chase, the reason why I chose to get to, like the reason why I work to get to Harvard, the reason why I want to do a business, the reason why everybody wants to get rich, at the end of the day, is to spend that success with the people themselves. And so usually the grind is pretty lonely. I think I had to sacrifice a lot of relationships in high school to focus on my work. Like even last year, it was the same case. And so now we're trying to flip that paradigm where now you don't need to be alone while you go to the top. You have people there by you.
That is an incredible, that's an incredible thing to hope to accomplish. And I think that's so understated. Like it's nowadays, it's always what, but people don't focus as much on the who. And I think that's so important. And it sounds like you also met some incredible people. So who are some of your most influential mentors?
I'd say recently, Cluey CEO Roy Lee. Now, I might get some flack for this because he's somewhat of a controversial figure on social media. But when I went to the Cluey office and I met him for the first time, and we kind of just talked, and he kind of got to know my situation, he was the one that really opened my eyes to what I could potentially do. Before talking to him, I had a pretty like standard life path, I'd say. Like I graduate from Harvard, go work, maybe at a consulting job, maybe hopefully do an online business or something. Eventually then work, like build my own startup and like follow that path. I double concentrate in psychology and economics just to, be safe and things like that. Um, and so it was quite like normal in my opinion. It wasn't that interesting. But then he really opened my eyes to like what is possible, right? Like his story is he got kicked out of school to like build a company. He like went all in on something. He took a huge risk. And I realized I just wasn't taking that many risks in my life. Everything has been relatively safe. I asked myself, like, what do I actually want? And I realized I do want to make content. I do want to build a really meaningful startup. And so why wait? Why push that off? Why not just start doing that now? Why not align my life to doing that right now? He really helped with that. I think another big thing about him was he has probably the most amount of conviction I've ever seen in a person. Like talking to him, it was almost infectious how confident he was that he was going to succeed. And I think I lost a little bit of that like cockiness almost. Like in high school, I definitely had it, but then I think once you get here, that's all the society tells you. You need to be humble, or else you get flamed. And I think there are moments where that is true, but like deep down, I kind of lost a little bit of that fire. And I think he really helped reignite that. And so when I came back to campus, I decided, all right, I'm going to focus all in on this. So I quit all of my other clubs. I changed my entire schedule to just start learning about things that I thought would actually help me build a better company or make better content. And because I've done that, I just feel way happier, way more fulfilled.
That is incredible. And that sounds like a very unique experience where it wasn't necessarily just what the other person said, but also how you received that and how you put it in the context of your life. And I think conviction is very understated in the importance. We always talk about like effort and strategy, but just how much someone believes in it and how much they're willing to sacrifice is so understated. What have you seen to be the biggest determinant of success when people embark on a huge journey, whether that's personal or it's communal?
That's a good question. I think even I'm trying to figure that out right now because I'm only like a few years older than you guys. Um, but I will say, I think the biggest factor that contributed to my own personal success up until this point has probably been this hunger to always improve. And I don't think everybody has that. I think a lot of people are kind of just happy with what they have, but I've always wanted more and get better and do things better. I think that is what drives you to work harder and do things that other people aren't willing to do. And I think that's a huge reason why I ended up at Harvard, why I am here. It's kind of the mindset that always drives you. So I think most people, if they end up being successful, they always have this undying hunger.
That's incredible. And I think that's very insightful too, because what we'll often see like the product, but we don't see the work that goes into it, like the sheer grit to just put your head down and say, like, this is the one thing that exists in my life right now. And it takes precedent over everything. And the sacrifice that takes is so understated. And I feel like now people are just beginning to talk about it. And I know you mentioned you're only a couple years older, but you have an incredible amount of wisdom. I really love that about you. You're so genuine and you're not afraid to share things, even when you're not sure of them. You share that and you say, like, I'm not sure of this. I'm still figuring it out. And that is incredible. And so what is something you could go back if you could go back in time and tell your 12-year-old self something, what would you tell Eddie?
Damn, 12 years old. What grade is that? So if I'm 19, that was 7 years ago. I was sophomore.
Wait, middle school?
You're
Seventh
doing
grade.
like seventh grade?
Yeah.
Seventh grade me. I don't know. I think I didn't have enough consciousness at that point for him to understand anything I'd be able to tell him, or like take any advice. Um, I think though, it's almost like a parent like talking to a child. Like, what is the best way to parent your child? You know what I mean? But I will say, I think what my parents did really well with me was they gave me a lot of like freedom, a lot of flexibility. They never really imposed certain expectations or beliefs upon me about like what I had to be when I got older, things like that. I think what they did a good job was instilling the right habits and values. And I think that allowed me to kind of explore my own thing. So honestly, I don't think there'd be anything I straight up say to 12-year-old me. I kind of just let him do his own thing. And I think a lot of people kind of should just let other people do their own thing. Eventually they figure things out. But I think YouTube was pretty transformative for me to figure all of this wisdom out. I got into a lot of podcasts and listened to a lot of people on YouTube. And I think that really shaped how I thought and how I matured.
Would you recommend us some of those podcasts and channels?
Yeah. So I can put them in the chat, but there's also, for example, Alex Hormozy was huge. She's a big entrepreneur, really helps with overall mindset on how to get things done. I really like Andrew Huberman for all the sciencey like tips and stuff. Diary of a CEO was someone I kind of listened to a lot as well. And then Chris Williamson. Chris Williamson was also really big. So I think those were a few of the main ones.
That sounds really cool. Your story's been really inspiring. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Last question. What was one piece of advice you would leave our community with?
I'd say don't be afraid to do things that other people are afraid of doing. I guess the point I'm trying to emphasize is when you want to achieve things that other people don't have, when you want to be exceptional, you have to realize that that means you do have to be the exception in some things. So you can't live the same way that other people live. Like, I never really played video games. I like didn't really enjoy like just rotting. And so when you realize that you want to achieve greater things, you have to accept that some of these more commonplace things that other people do, you can't do. And that's okay. Like, give yourself permission to do the things that you actually want to do, to ignore what other people say. If they don't have what you want, then don't listen to them. I think when there's a lot of judgment in like keeping people the norm, it's quite hard to just break free from that. But I think a good thing that I did, I was pretty stubborn, so I never really listened to people. And I think that was something that helped me out a lot. But I know a lot of people usually will cave into that social pressure. So if you're listening to this, like, give yourself permission to chase after what you actually want, to do what other people think is weird, because that's the only way you'll get the results that nobody else has.
That is very wise. I love that. You're so adaptable, and I respect that so much about you. And I've learned so much just from like half an hour of talking with you. So thank you so much, Eddie, for taking the time to speak with us. We're sure you're very busy, and this really means a lot to us and to the iStart Insider community.
Yeah, of course. Super happy to be here and super happy I was helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.